So there's this brand new political ad out of the UK, and it has just completely exploded online. I mean, it went viral almost overnight. So today, we're going to break it all down. What the ad is, who's behind it, and the message it's sending, all based on the source material that first covered its launch.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at just how massive its reach is. Then we'll get into the guy behind it all, what the party's core policies actually are, where this whole thing fits into the bigger political picture, and, of course, the immediate reaction it got.
Okay, let's just dive right in. And we have to start with the sheer scale of this thing's reach online. It's really something else. So, to put a number on it, our source material points out that right from the get-go, this thing was a monster. At the time they recorded their piece, this ad had already been seen by 20 million people. 20 million. And, the narrator of our source material, Benny Johnson, he doesn't just call it a popular video. No, he frames this as a major historical event. He literally says it's the single most viral political ad in the last 10 years. And if you look at the engagement numbers, you can see it's not just people passively watching. We're talking about deep engagement here. We've got over 100,000 likes, tens of thousands of reposts and saves. People aren't just seeing this, they're actively spreading it.
Okay, so who is the guy at the heart of all this viral sensation? Let's take a look at what the source has to say about the messenger himself.
Well, his name is Rupert Lowe, and he's actually a current member of Parliament. In the ad, he launches his new political party, Restore Britain, right from his own farm, which he uses as a backdrop to represent what he calls proper Britain.
And a huge part of his pitch, a core piece of the strategy, is his promise about who's going to run for this new party. He says the candidates will come from fields like business, the military, science, basically everywhere except the existing political machine. The idea is to position Restore Britain as a total alternative to the status quo.
All right, so what does this new party actually want to do? What do they stand for? The ad lays out a very clear three-part platform.
Yeah, the whole agenda is really built on three main pillars. You've got immigration, welfare, and culture. And if you follow politics, you'll probably recognize this structure. It's a pretty common playbook for a lot of modern populist movements. So let's break down what each of these pillars means for them.
First up is immigration. And Rupert Lowe is, well, he's incredibly blunt about it. He tells his audience right up front that what he thinks is necessary is going to be, in his own words, incredibly painful.
And he follows that up with this, an absolutely stark statement that really drives home the scale of what they're proposing. The goal is simple: have more people leaving Britain than arriving. If that means millions go, then millions go. That's a direct quote.
So, who would have to leave? Well, the ad lays out a whole list of reasons for deportation, and it's pretty wide-ranging. We're talking about everything from being in the country illegally, obviously, but also things like not speaking English, living in social housing, claiming benefits, or even failing to integrate or actively hating the British way of life.
Okay, next pillar, welfare and the economy. And here, they've got this two-sided approach. On one side, it's about punishing what they call indolence. Basically, if you can work, you must work, or you lose your benefits. On the other side, it's about rewarding success. They're promising huge incentives for businesses by slashing taxes and regulations, cutting out what they call Parasitic Britain.
And that brings us to the third and final pillar, which is all about culture. And this is where Rupert Lowe gets really specific. For him, Britain isn't just an idea or an economy. He defines it as a nation, a people, and specifically, our people.
And what's really interesting here is just how specific the cultural policies are. They talk about celebrating Britain's Christian heritage, banning the burka, outlawing Sharia law, even blocking cousin marriages and ending halal or kosher slaughter. The whole point is to enforce what the party calls our Christian-based rule of law through these very targeted changes. Now, the source material we're looking at doesn't just present this ad in isolation. It's really careful to place it inside a much broader political context to show where this is all coming from.
The narrator, Benny Johnson, he sees this as part of a much larger trend. He calls it a populist and beautiful nationalist movement that's sweeping not just the UK, but Europe. And he points to these huge marches in London as proof that this sentiment is really growing.
And according to him, what's driving this? He pins it on a deep public frustration with mass immigration and what he describes as a feeling that assimilation just isn't working. Okay, so this ad goes viral. What happens next? What was the immediate fallout? Let's look at the numbers and the reactions that the source material points to.
Well, according to the source, the political impact was immediate and pretty stunning. The ad apparently catapulted Rupert Lowe straight into polling at number 3 for the next UK Prime Minister. That's a huge jump.
And you could see that same momentum online. The party's social media account was brand new, and right after the ad dropped, it just exploded, gaining almost 200,000 followers.
And the source also dives into the comments section, highlighting this huge wave of support. And it wasn't just from people in the UK. There were comments pouring in from America and elsewhere, which really shows that this message resonated with an international audience, way beyond just Britain.
So at the end of the day, there's no question this ad made a huge, immediate splash. But the big question, the one that really matters, is this. Can all this incredible online energy actually be turned into a real, lasting political movement? Or is this just a flash in the pan, a fleeting viral moment that will be forgotten by the next news cycle?